And we got about one more minute before we get started. We definitely want to start on time, team. So just FYI. I know a couple of people still trying to dial in. It just reached out to me, Beth. So we got about 5 or 6 more that's dialing in. But they can pick up when we as we go through. Hey, we want to go ahead and get started. It's 1900 here in DC, so we want to go ahead and get started. Tonight, I think we got a pretty good webinar for the team tonight. And really, we put a lot of thought in, and I really think that we really got the right guy to come in and present tonight. Eric Kready, retired MP, reached out about 3 months ago and wanted to do a webinar on the soldiers' transition to civilian life. And Eric has a tremendous background. He was in the military. He's doing very well on the civilian side. And he actually works with a company called ASIS. And he will kind of explain it as he go through. But I will tell you, we've heard the briefing. I'm definitely looking forward to tonight's presentation. This is about the seventh session that we've done with the MPRA. My name is Colonel Retired Gerald Mount. And I guess we started this journey about 2.5 years ago doing these sessions. But it was an opportunity to give back to the MP Corps. We have, people on my team. We have Colonel Retired Mike True. Mike was very gracious to be a part of the mentorship team along with Oliver Sanders and those two. And also we have Dory as well and Beth. She's our overall boss to kind of give us some direction. But tonight we kind of go through, we take about an hour of your time tonight. Next slide, please, Beth. These sessions, basically education sessions, professional development, kind of way to give back to pretty much active duty members, reservists, and retirees. We normally host these sessions, every quarter. It's been a few months since we held the last session, but we're going to get back on schedule. The next one is scheduled for September of this year. So, pretty much see the some of the topics, examples below. We've had pretty much a host of different variety of different guest speakers from the government, civilian sector, and also we was very fortunate to have the Provost Marshal General on for our very first session, General Albright. All right, next slide, please. Just a quick, just protocol. Attendees would not be able to turn on the camera. They would mute it throughout the actual webinar. So if you have any questions, pretty much put it in the chat. And either, myself, Bet, or Dory will actually go through it and present those questions to the presenter tonight for the session. Raise your hand. The panelists will try to answer all questions, but if we don't get those questions answered, we try to stick this format to an hour. We'll make sure that we send the actual recording back out to everybody on the session tonight, and we'll send those answers to those questions that we may not have answered. Everyone means all attendees will have visibility, so make sure if you see something, you want to say something, you make sure you put it in the chat. And at the end of the day, the webinar will be recorded and sent back out, just like I said. All right, next slide, Bill. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Eric. Eric, you can go ahead and start. Thanks again.
Great. Thanks very much, Gerald. Beth, I'll rely on you to keep me on track in time if I start getting long-winded. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As Gerald mentioned, I'm Eric Kready. I'll give an introduction here on the next slide, but I don't know who the audience is that I'm speaking with as far as your status. So I normally give these types of presentations to active duty, guard, and reserve. However, if you're none of those categories, you're on this call, this webinar, more than likely because you work with those folks and you assist them and mentor them throughout their journey through career transition. So what I'm going to cover here in the next few minutes is still going to be valuable to you, even if you've already made it to your chapter 2. So with that, next slide, please. Here's my introduction. I am part of you. I'm one of you, right? I was served 20 plus years, retired military police officer. And I've been in corporate America for coming up on 13 years. And I have been working as a volunteer in the career transition space ever since I retired, because that first year in civilian life was an eye-opening, shocking experience, and had more days of I wish I would have known that than I did not. And so I've been giving back to fellow active duty ever since. And that goes for Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. Worked with all of them, as well as uh, law enforcement agencies at all echelons across the United States and Canada with career transition. So that's who I am. Let's go ahead and rock this on. Next slide, please. Okay, so I put together sort of a three-part agenda, and I'll do my very best to be cognizant of time. I'm going to talk about career transition strategy, because we've learned over the years that although we like to use the word strategy, we oftentimes don't really have a good one for what that career transition looks like. So I'm going to talk a little bit about strategy, what that looks like in complete transparency. I usually give 1 hour seminars about the strategy in and of itself. So this will be an extremely abbreviated portion of that, but we'll spend some time hitting on the high notes. And then I want to talk about professional certifications and why they're important. And then I'm going to talk about what's known as Operation Career Change. Gerald mentioned ASIS International. That is an organization of which I've been a part of since the first year of becoming a civilian. I've been a volunteer leader in that organization for 12 plus years. And I emphasize volunteer. I work for corporate America uh, and the engine, making big capital money, that kind of thing. So this is my volunteer side speaking to everyone. And then at the end, we'll close up with, I'll provide some resources, some links, and hopefully we'll have a discussion. I hope that there will be questions along the way. If not, hopefully we'll have a good discussion at the end. So with that, let's go ahead and move on, and we'll talk about strategy. So the first slide, I'm going to talk real briefly about it, and we're going to go to the next one. And the reason is because this is the ideal career transition strategy. And if you look at this, you can see the timeline extends out to 3+ years. And that's why it's ideal, because there's a lot of components that should be started 3 years out from transition. I think we would all agree that in our experience and the way our lives go and the way our careers go, we don't usually get the luxury to do that. Sometimes decisions are made for us, and sometimes it's just the way that it's ingrained in our head that 12-month kind of point in time is where we go. So if you go to the next slide, please, develop the abbreviated strategy. Now it's abbreviated because of time. It's abbreviated into those 12 months. And through working with folks like me who have been assisting military folks in transition over the years, we managed to figure out a way to get these components in the ideal strategy into an abbreviated strategy. It's not perfect, but it is absolutely doable, and got a lot of feedback over the years from people who have followed this and have had a much smoother transition. So looking at this quickly, and again, I apologize, I normally give just this slide alone. I'll have 5 minutes discussion on each one of these components, and that is in and of itself a presentation. But for the purposes of our discussion tonight, I just want to hit on a few things. The first one there, very top one, and the furthest one out, is a professional network. Now we talk about, we've been in the military, and in our case, the Army, most of us, the Army, for 5, 10, 20 years, 30 years. I have a robust network. But the question you have to ask ourselves is that network going to help us in chapter 2? If we're going to stay working for the government on the same base that we're retiring from, and you already wrote your own job description to be a GS whatever, then yeah, that military network you built up along the way can help you. And sometimes that military network can help you because that person you served with before, long time ago or recently, has already made their transition and they can help you. But most of the time, that's not really where you're going to want to hang your hat and do your work. Your professional network has to be focused on chapter 2. It has to be focused on where you want to be, who you want to be, and how you want to get there. And so some of these other components, excuse me, some of these other components support that professional network. I'm going to skip over self-assessment. I'm going to skip over professional photo and talk briefly about LinkedIn. For an active duty or guard or reservist who is considering a transition to a full-time professional career in the civilian world, whether it be nonprofit or for-profit, a robust LinkedIn profile is absolutely key. It is the gold standard of professional networking, and it's where the talent acquisition and hiring managers go to figure out who they want. Education, I'm going to talk about that a little bit here in a few minutes, but education is a key thing to consider coming up as you approach your transition. I just recently had a Coast Guard senior warrant officer coming up on his 20 years reached out to me. This is within the last 30 days, and he doesn't have the appropriate completed college education for the level of position that he's looking for. He wants to be in, I'll just say, a metropolitan city in the Northeast and making over 200,000 a year. And if you haven't done some of these key components, like built a robust professional network, have a appropriate college degree, and we're going to talk about professional certifications in a place that is possibly not a target-rich environment for the career you're choosing to go into, it's going to be a struggle. And sometimes those are the hard realities. And that's why folks like me and who have been through it, and many of you on this call, need to have those very point blank and professional conversations with our heroes so that they're set up with true expectations. And that rolls into labor research. When you decide what you want to do, where you want to go, and looking over at 8 months is kind of the drop dead time when you need to decide on geography versus profession, which is always the first question I ask people when they reach out to me. Geography versus profession. What's more important to you? Where you're going to have chapter 2 or what you're going to be doing? Because if you're looking to be a security professional in Nowheresville, Idaho, you're going to be a little more challenged than if you're an educator or a nurse who is needed in every town, city, borough, and county across America. So geography versus profession is the absolute most important decision that has to be made prior to any of this. And that is what's going to feed your labor research. Having that in the back of your mind, figuring out, is it truly feasible to go where I want to go, or do what I want to do, or go where I want to go and do what I want to do? Hard questions we have to ask ourselves, but folks like us need to mentor those folks into understanding those questions. So if we look at professional associations and professional certifications in the next column, I mentioned ASIS International a few minutes ago. I just use that as an example because, as I mentioned, I'm very familiar with them. I've been an active member for 12 years, and I've been a volunteer leader in various capacities for 12 years. It's the gold standard and the security society for physical security. If we were talking about, excuse me, if we were talking about advising or coaching or assisting one of our heroes who wanted to go and become an HR professional because they studied that in college or because that's what they dream to do, then we're going to open their eyes to SHRM. SHRM is huge. We've even seen, many of you have seen their commercials. They have commercials on TV. That's how big they are. If they wanted to be an educator, then we would open their eyes, if they didn't already know, to the NEA. Almost every profession out there has a professional association. That's a critical part in growing your network and understanding a lot of the truths about the industry and the profession you're trying to transition into. I'll skip through personal brand and external partnerships for a minute, and we'll go over to, again, I talked about geography versus profession. Probably the most important question to ask yourself on here, but not the most important dynamic. But it goes into precision targeting. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about fire for effect. I'm talking about when we decide where we want to be, what we want to do, and we know what chapter 2 looks like in our mind's eye. Now we need to look back at these other things, and we need to take our professional network that we've been developing. We need to take all these other components and we need to fine tune it. We have to focus it on the industry we want to be in, or the city we want to be in. Let's use Austin, Texas as an example. We want to go to Texas in chapter 2. We're going to pick Austin as the capital. We're going to Austin, Texas, and we want to work in software development or something like that as an example. We do our market research, we do our precision targeting analysis, and we figure out that Dell Computers, one of the largest computer manufacturers in the world, is located in Round Rock, Texas. They wouldn't like me to use the word suburb, but a city adjacent to Austin, Texas. And we start focusing on who are the influencers that can help me get to where I want to go. And then we target and we reach out professionally to the talent acquisition scouts and the HR and human resources professionals in Dell, in Round Rock, Texas. And we reach out and we partner, and we introduce ourselves, a soft approach to the security professionals. Or if we want to be in project management, but we know we want to be at Dell, we reach out to the project managers and things like that. That's what I mean by precision targeting, so that we've taken that safari funneled elephant gun and we're turning it into the sniper rifle. So let's quickly talk about internship opportunities. SkillBridge is an amazing one. I would just advise that there are many, 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 many other opportunities out there. So when we look at when we've conducted our precision targeting and we figure out, I'm going to keep using Dell. And by the way, I've never worked for Dell. I just came to me as this discussion happened. But we're going to use Dell for our conversation. If we've decided through our process that Dell is our dream job, then we're going to try to figure out how to get enrolled or how to apply for an internship opportunity at Dell. Dell may or may not be part of the SkillBridge program. I have no idea, to be quite honest with you. But I say it as an example because I work for a company called SAP. SAP is a global company of 110,000 people across 24 time zones, software development company. We have internships. I know that with 1,000% confidence. We have internships. They're 18-month internships that result in 18-month paid internships that the end result is a full-time position. We are not part of SkillBridge. So there are a lot of internship opportunities outside of SkillBridge. Military really focuses on SkillBridge for the obvious reasons, but widen the aperture and start thinking like that civilian you're going to be. The last 4 pieces or 5 pieces there, I won't talk about much tonight because we can really go down a lot of different paths and talk about that and kind of get into. But as I'll say at the end, I'm available to be reached out to at any time. Talk about any of these pieces ad nauseum. Next slide, please. And I'm sorry, Beth, not paying attention to any any comments coming in below. So if there are any questions
Yeah,
or anything
yeah,
at this
keep
point.
going. Nothing really. Keep going, Eric.
Okay, sounds good. So let's talk about professional certification. Um, I'm sorry, my screen just froze. Can you all see me?
Yeah, Eric, we got you. The screen
Okay,
is
good.
on.
Yeah,
Professional
good. Sorry,
certification.
sorry about that. All right, so professional certification. Why is this important? Why do I have this on here? In my year before retiring, I was literally pretty much at that 12-month point. And there was a fellow MP, let me just say, a jump master buddy of mine. And our careers were almost identical. We were both Mustangs for the same amount of time. We were both, I mean, our careers were almost identical. He was 1 year ahead of me. And he said to me at his retirement farewell, heading out the door, he's like, Eric, look up ASIS. You need to be involved. And I said, Roger that, Chris. I will do that. And sure enough, I forgot within 5 minutes. And I reached out to him about 11 months later and said, Hey, brother, what was that organization you told me I need to be a part of? And then I got in, and then I got on, and my eyes opened, and I realized that I should have educated myself on the importance of being involved in a professional association that is active in Chapter 2, the place that I'm going to go to, the place that we all go to. Very small percentage of us end up being independently wealthy or winning the lottery. Most of us have to work after our military career. And I found myself there. And then I educated myself on the importance of professional certifications. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that here over the next few minutes. Next slide, please. So, so why is it important? Here's a few value proposition statements. You're celebrating your professional milestones. You're showing that you have the ability to achieve something that most don't set out to do. You're showcasing that. You're elevating your professional stature, and you're becoming part, as I mentioned, with ASIS or SHRM or NEA or whatever professional you go to, you're becoming part of, of a global network of like-minded professionals. But the take-home point in this slide is the very last bullet I put: compete with your competition. So we often talk about our civilian colleagues when we're on active duty. What are our civilian colleagues doing? Well, they're doing this and they're doing that, and they have this position in this school or whatever. You can call them your colleagues if you like, but in fact, they are your competition because they are where you want to be, and they are climbing that ladder that you want to find your way into a rung and climb that ladder. And they are doing all those things that they're supposed to do in their civilian career to continue to climb that ladder. And the way that you get in on that ladder where they are already climbing is by having something that a select population of them have. And that's why professional certifications are extremely important, excuse me, to military, active military preparing for transition. The second thing I want to point out about this, and this again, this is with your being your competition. There are two qualifying and disqualifying criteria when it comes to, there are more, but primarily there are two qualifying and disqualifying criteria that a hiring manager, an organization, a talent acquisition scout who's responsible for filling that opportunity, that they follow. And they bake that and build that in as hiring and, disqualifying and qualifying criteria in the applicant tracking system so that they can screen candidates. The number one qualifying disqualifying criteria is academic accomplishment. We can call that a technical certificate. We can call it a college degree of some sort. We can call it whatever we want. It depends on the job and it depends on the career field. But the number one qualifying and disqualifying criteria for an applicant to make it to be part of a selection pool is an academic accomplishment. Hard stop, period. The number two is a professional certification. So when we look at many jobs, and I'm not talking about hourly jobs. We need those. I'm speaking on the professional level. If you spend 20 years in the military or 10 years in the military with a lot of great success stories behind your belt, most folks don't want to go work third shift at the Amazon distribution center. We need them. I have an Amazon box sitting out there that I haven't opened yet. We need them. I'm all about it. But I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the career trajectory kind of person. That's why professional certifications hold so much value and can be that absolute force multiplier when competing with your competition. Next slide, please. Yeah, a few bullets here. Basically, what I'll say about this is, as an example, with ASIS International, there are four, excuse me, four certifications. The Associate Protection Professional, the Certified Protection Professional, which is sort of the overarching granddaddy of all of them, the Professional Certified Investigator, and finally the Physical Security Professional. Again, if you're looking to go into human resources and travel down the SHRM path, there's SHRM CP, and there's all those sorts of professional certifications in each individual industry. And that's where you need to go to. But at the end of the day, those societies who have those certifications that are recognized globally by certification bodies hold that as a global mark of excellence for a given profession. Next slide. All right, so we're moving into the third section. Any questions so far, Beth?
Hey, the only one that really came up was hit a little bit on volunteer. I know you mentioned it on one of the slides, and one of the guest members put a portion in the chat to talk about volunteer. If you can hit on
Yeah,
that.
love to talk about volunteer work. So there's a lot of different things you can do for volunteer work. The reason it's a I won't say critical, but the reason it's an important aspect to build into your transition timeline, your transition preparation and strategy is number one, it shows a multidimensional capacity of the individual. More organizations than not will look for that. The civilian world looks for the soft skills in a person, and it is very difficult for them to quantify, imagine, feel, touch, and define the soft skills in the hardened warrior that we portray. So when you show those other dynamics, such as volunteerism, that shows them that, oh, this person isn't just a crazy lunatic jumping out of airplanes and going to the Middle East. This person has different capacities. He or she does different things. So that's the first reason for volunteer work. The second reason for volunteer work is it starts to allow you to get into seeing how the civilian world functions. Some of the volunteer work I did while I was on active duty was I would take 1 day of leave every month, and I would drive veterans to the VA hospital in Nashville. And that allowed me, one, I loved interacting with them. It was fantastic. It was best day of the month for me, honestly. But what I did while I was at the hospital, while they were all at their appointments, was I would walk around and meet people, and I began to understand the dynamics of healthcare security. There's an enormous amount of nuances in healthcare security that you cannot find in software security or data center security or supply chain security or all the other different genres of security. So if you have an idea where you want to kind of land and where you want to focus, if you go back in your precision targeting and you figure out where you want to be, there's ways you can do volunteer work to get you into different spaces. So that's the second reason for volunteer work. There are others that are obvious, but I don't want to beat that up too much. Does that answer the question, Gerald? Awesome, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about the third component that I want to speak about tonight, and it's called Operation Career Change, and that's the name of a project that volunteers, excuse me, at ASIS have put together. And when I say volunteers at ASIS, I'm talking about me and dozens of other former and active duty military from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, FBI, Ottawa Police, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Seattle, uh, police departments, as well as currently working with members of militaries from 6 countries across the planet. All these volunteers from all these various different backgrounds have come together because they understand the importance of building products that will assist in the transition, the career transition for active duty folks. And so that's what Operation Career Change is about. These are products that I'm about to show you that are built 100% by former and active duty military and law enforcement folks. I'll have a link at the end where you can go and download these products. They are 100% free. They are meant to get out to the heroes who need them. So you don't need to bother screenshotting anything here. The link will be at the end of the slide, and you can go in there and get everything for free. The first product, what you see on your screen right here, is a career mapping. And I'm a Penn State guy, so everything's got to be pictures worth 1,000 words. I need, I'm not a read a book kind of guy. I got to see it in pictures. So the first product is the most important to me, and it's my favorite one. It's not everyone else's favorite one. That'll be the second. I'll show you in a minute here. But what you see, what you're going to see when you download these and look at them, you're going to see career mapping, and on the top, you're going to see the military MOS career map, and this comes straight out of the field med. Oh, excuse me, the AR. This is 100% accurate unless it changed in the last 12 months, which it may, and that's why these will be on a maintenance cycle to be updated. But these maps are commissioned officer, foreign officer, and non-commissioned officer enlisted. There are 31 Bravo, 31 Delta, 31 Echo, and 31 Kilo career maps. And what is across the top are those particular those particular skill sets from 0 to 30 years. And it has key assignments, it has all the major schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what it has below that, the bottom half, the second half of the map, what you'll see when you open this up, is you're going to see a mapping of the civilian, civilian security professional that we talked about earlier, and who I referred to as the competition. You're going to be able to see what that civilian security professional is doing throughout his or her career from the day they start, whether it's out of high school or college or however they begin, and what they're doing, what positions they're holding, what education they're holding, what professional certifications they're getting, what they're studying, and how they're traversing as they climb the ladder. Now, what this is not meant to do is it's not meant for someone to go scroll across the top and go, I'm a captain, I have 10 years in, look down at the bottom, oh, I should be X. It doesn't work like that. It only works like that if you educate yourself and see what your competition is doing along the way, and you're doing those things as well. It's not a direct correlation unless you track what you're doing along with what your competition is doing. I'm going to pause for just a second to make sure that that's key, because that is an important difference, and some people can get hung up on that.
Eric, this is a great slide. So make sure that you go ahead and it's free. So make sure you download it. This is an exceptional slide.
All right, let's go on to product two. This seems to be everyone's favorite. And again, it's not meant for you to be able to read what's on there right now. This is kind of a placeholder for our discussion. But what you're going to see here, and I'll pause for just a second to remind you that every product you see on here was built 100% by volunteers who are active and former, such as myself. Obviously, they're produced by professional marketing people, but I'm talking about the blood, sweat, and tears rolled into them, and the knowledge base that's in them is 100% from us. So what you're going to see on the left, again, this is commissioned officer, warrant officer product in the middle, and non-commissioned enlisted on the right. You'll be able to receive these three products, or whichever one is pertinent to you, for free. But what you see on the left of each of these products, there's two columns. Call it column A, column B, call it column left, column right. But the left column are real statements of accomplishment taken from military OERs, NCOERs, award citations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what you'll see on the right next to that is a translated statement of accomplishment put into civilian terminology, using 5Ws, using SWAT, using the actual verbiage that is happy to see in corporate America. This is going to lead into the next product a little bit, which is somewhat similar. But the importance of this product, this works in both directions, much like the previous one. This allows service members to kind of look through here and see, oh, there's one about canine. Well, that's kind of what I did. Okay, let's see what this looks like in civilian terminology. Oh, that makes sense. That's how I need to write it. That's how I need to tweak these things. That's how I can use this when I build my LinkedIn profile. When I take that resume that I got out of TAP, I'm not going to go down that road, but I polish these things and get them to where they're going to be useful in chapter 2, to where they're going to get me a discussion with a human being. They're going to get me through an applicant tracking system. They're going to get me to where I can have a real discussion, a virtual FaceTime discussion with someone I've reached out to in that network during my precision targeting exercise. I'm going to be able to have that civilian kind of discussion because I know how to translate my accomplishments. That's the intent of this product. It also works in the other direction. It also allows civilian hiring managers, it allows talent acquisition folks, it allows those people who screen the resumes to understand what it is we're talking about. And I didn't talk about the whole final stretch in the strategy piece, but I will quickly say right now, when it comes to resume screening, and I cannot begin to tell you how many talent acquisition and hiring, HR folks I have interviewed over the years, specifically about this. But the resume is screened by them on average for 7 seconds. So if your resume makes it through the applicant tracking system because you have the keywords and you've met the qualifying criteria, then that human being gets to look at that resume and they will spend on average 7 seconds If you catch their attention in those 7 seconds, your resume will be put into the bucket of further screening and they'll do a deep dive. So using these critical words, translating your skill set, doing all those things are vital if you're going to make it in that 7 second sphere of that human being. Any questions about product 2 before we move on to the final product? Okay, Beth, next slide, please. So this one is very similar. What we found was, you know, we quite frankly, we found that civilians, if it weren't for Hollywood, they wouldn't even know what snafu and foobar is, let alone the 99,000 other acronyms and crazy verbiage that we use. And we take it for granted. You know, if we go to a civilian and they say, "Oh, what'd you do your last? I see you're a lieutenant. Oh, I was an aide de camp." And they'll look at you like you're an alien with 3 eyes. But if you look at them and you say, I was an executive assistant to a senior military leader, immediately they understand what your scope of responsibility is. So that's the intent of product 3, is to decipher all those acronyms and verbiage that we take for granted and help us get across that conversation line. Any questions about product 3? Okay, let's go on to the next slide real quick. I'm going to have a link at the end, but just kind of wanted to give you a visual of what it looks like. When you go to that link, you'll see a professional development tab there. You click on that and there's links there on the left. It's actually just updated this week since I made this slide. You're going to see now a link you're going to see that says Operation Career Change, which is the name of this section of the presentation. So instead of seeing the federal law enforcement and military, you're just going to see one link that says Operation Career Change, and you'll be able to get in there. Next slide. So the last thing I wanted to point out, again, I'm using the ASIS page as a screenshot, but what is important to know is if you decide you want to go be a teacher, or you know, troops to teachers, or if you decide you want to go into HR. I keep using HR because, quite frankly, I worked a lot over the last 3 years with a Navy special ops person who was having a fantastic time in his career. But at about the 10-year mark, he realized there wasn't a whole lot of call in the civilian world for someone who is responsible for driving a boat with machine guns on it. And so he found a passion that he enjoyed, and he began to study that. And now he's a human resources, but he's a retired naval special warfare. I forgot what they're called, the boat commanders. He's retired, but he is a human resources business professional for Amazon. So I say all that. I use human resources as an example. The bottom line is, whatever profession you want to go in, being a part of that profession's society is important for many reasons. And I pointed out here because most of them, a very vast majority of them, have a career headquarters that can help, which is specific to them. TAP, great on you that they have it, but TAP can't help if you want to be a civilian security professional. TAP's not going to do a lot for you if you want to be a nurse or a florist, etc. So I wanted to put that on there and point that out, that career headquarters sources are available in almost every professional society. Next slide, please. Okay, here are the resources. I put the link for the first one, which is ASIS International, www.asisonline.org. Again, you're going to see that, and that's where you're going to go to download those free resources for Operation Career Change. I also put some links here on some articles I've written, some podcasts. If you're not a reader, you can just sit there and listen to my horrible voice and drool away, but catch some good information about career transition. And then finally, there's my email address. I did not put my LinkedIn channel on there or directory on there, but I'm the only Eric Kready on the planet, so I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to me however you wish, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. Next slide. Yeah, so open mic time. I don't know if there are questions or discussion, but I'm here for whatever you need.
Hey, Eric, I got a question for you. What are some good certifications that you recommend for a military policeman that's getting out of the military? They kind of start on before they get out. What are some of those certifications?
A lot of times, no, I shouldn't say a lot, but I've been asked
Mm.
at least half a dozen times, uh, why are we'll use CPP as an example. If you want to be in the security management area, if you want to be a security manager or a security director, or eventually the vice president of security at, whatever, or the CSO, the chief security officer of the Acme Dynamite Company, whatever, you want to be, you want to have a CPP. If you want to be responsible for the security of the networks and the data center for Amazon Web Service or et cetera, then you want to go to ISC squared and you want to become a CISSP certified professional. You want to do those things. I'm asked, well, why would I want to do that? Because I have letter um, certification from Uncle Sam. And the answer to that is very simple. If you're going to stay in the government and take your uniform off on Friday and come back in civilian clothes on Monday, then that certification is certainly valuable for you. But if you want to transition to the civilian world, none, 0.0 of those government certifications are going to matter. They're not going to make sense, they're not going to be known, and they're not recognized for the jobs that you're searching for. So if you were to go to LinkedIn job search or Indeed or any one of the search engines, and you're going to look for those professional security positions that we're talking about this evening, you're going to see CPP, you're going to see PSP, you're going to see CISSP, you're going to see CSM, you're going to see CMP, you're going to see IACP, you're going to see CMT. If you want to go into crisis management, threat response, if you want to work in these areas in the civilian world, those are the professional certifications that you're going to need to have to get into the conversation, to get into that fold, to be part of that group of applicants who's going to be able to compete for that opportunity. Those government certifications matter 0.0. Does that answer the question, Gerald?
Yeah, great. That was great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Any-
Eric, another question that came up. What are your thoughts about paying someone to write your resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn page?
Yeah, so I don't endorse anyone in particular. If someone reaches out to me and asks my advice, I can certainly point them in the right direction. My thoughts, to be quite honest, you could reach out to someone like me. There are many people. There's thousands of guys and gals like me who are willing to help military folks make their transition. But we don't have the bandwidth, nor do we have the expertise to polish resumes, let alone start from scratch. So, AI is a great tool. ChatGPT is a great tool. Every day, every week, there's more and more improved prompts that you can use to build a better and better and better and better resume. They're still not quite there where they need to be of what a professional resume writer can do. But they're getting really strong and really good. To answer your question a little bit more precisely, Gerald, I would say there's a certain level that a homegrown resume can get you to, and a chat GPT resume can get you to. But if you're looking to get to a certain other level during your transition, and compete with those other certain people, then I am a huge proponent of paying the professional to do the professional job. The other thing I'd say about paying for someone to write your resume is do your homework. I've seen awful resumes. I've seen apps. I've seen resumes come from the installation tap office for an MP where there was an entire section talking about their time as a medic. That's horrible that we're letting our soldiers walk out to become civilians with products like that. I've seen professional paid resumes that come out, and I'm like, that's worse than a template I found for free online. But there's also professional writers for resumes for particular specialties. There are resume writers for the security profession. And I would say do your homework. If you're going to invest in that particular service, do your homework. There are amazing writers out there that know exactly how to do it down to the font, down to the absolute letter of how you do it that will work and get you into where you want to be. So yes, I'm not going to endorse anyone on the open mic, but I am a proponent of paying for it. I am.
Thanks, Eric. Hey, Mike, True, all the Saunders, do you have anything additional to add?
There are a lot of resources that you can find in social media platforms like LinkedIn, looking at some of their posts where you can get some free insights, if you will, master classes and things like that on resume writing and resume building. But I agree with Eric, there comes a point in time if you're looking for a very specific position with a very specific criteria for that position, you may need to either look at the network that you've developed and find people who are already doing that job and see if they would be willing to share their resume to give you some additional insight. There again, there are other organizations similar to what we do here, uh, organization like ACP. They're on LinkedIn. You can check with them, and they're a mentoring program that provides some good insight on resumes, LinkedIn profile pages, cover letters, and the like. And there are also other resources that we've provided previously in our previous meetings like this, that maybe we just do a refresh on those documents that we did to provide some of those hot links like we did. I think it was almost a year ago.
Mhm.
And we can do that internally and then share that with all the folks that are on this call.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And I saw something flash across from Vince down there. He brings up a good reminder. So we talked about um, paying for a professional resume. Whether you pay for someone to write it professionally or you build it on your own or whatever it is, that's your base document. That
Mhm.
does not mean you just continue to hit send for every job opportunity out there. Every single application, every single opportunity, your resume has to be tailored to that. You have to find the keywords. You have to have that value statement, why you are the best candidate for that position. So whether you spend $100, $500, $1,000 on a professional resume, it doesn't mean it's the golden ticket. It means it's a fantastic base document of which you have to tweak and edit for that specific opportunity.
I'd
Yeah, I
like
would
to
like
add to that too. I'd like to add to that comment. You have to get good at pulling out those key phrases and and different specific areas that those evaluators that you were talking about, Eric, when they at a glance, and then when they do that deep dive, you're going to have to make sure that you look at those job descriptions that are posted when you do tailor your resume to hit those specific buzzwords that those evaluators are going to be looking for, and then provide quantifiable data to show that you're good at what they're looking for.
Yeah, and if I could, I would like to just echo and amplify a couple of points. Uh, I think what Eric presented today is really a really good connector to, just as Sergeant Major True mentioned, the things we've talked about over the last couple of sessions, particularly whether you're looking at, whether you're going into government service or whether you're looking at transitioning and looking at maximizing the VA benefits, all those things that have kind of built the building blocks of our presentation over these last couple of sessions. And this here is one where I think we can take all of the key components of all of those and put them together. And then those things that Eric specifically talked about with career management, transition management. One of the things I think that is also important that really was kind of weaving through some of the theme of what Eric has presented is not only marketing and presenting the skills that you have and have built, but also continuing to find the ones that you still need. As someone who's transitioned to federal service and had a lot of opportunities to look at resumes and skills, and people have gotten a lot of experience and exposure through our military service, it's important to understand the things that you still need to develop. And those things that, and have a plan built into your strategy and how to do that. Professional certifications is a highlight of that. I am a member of ASIS and was a CPP certified professional for some time. And I saw the need to do that. But then there were other skills that I, thought were important. And I was just for everyone to kind of do that inventory, personal inventory as part of that transition plan of what you need to do, in addition to the skills that you've already built and developed in your military service, which are extensive, whether you be an MP or any profession of arms, and see when you do that market research and of the things that you still need, and keep in time with what is developing on the near and distant horizon. If someone was to tell me I had to be concerned with artificial intelligence as a business profession and business case as a manager 5 years ago, I would say that's probably not something I would be thinking of. But now that's something that's in my skill set that I think all of us should be thinking, just artificial intelligence, all of these things. So I would say that as we look into how you can use professional certifications to build on the skill set that you want to transition to, look out on the horizon for those things that are going to be needed, not only for the present, but also for the upcoming near and long term as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks. So, hey, real quick, Eric, I want to say again, thanks again. This was a great presentation, one of the best ones that we had since we've been doing this. And I just want to say thanks again. You're doing this as volunteering your time, but it paid dividends for the attendees on the call tonight. So thanks again for your professionalism, and thanks for giving back to the MP Corps, brother. Appreciate it again.
Absolutely happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. We'll go ahead and hit the next slide real quick. Keep going through one more, Beth. All right, we'll go ahead. We're going to tee up. We got a couple minutes left. I want to stay on time. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to my hero, Mike Migolari. You're going to go ahead and tee up for the next section. Mike, go ahead. We got about 2 or 3 minutes left.
All right, thanks, Joe. Hey, Eric, great seeing you jump match. I was going to pull my coin out, but I don't have it in my pocket. So, hey, Eric, great presentation. Thanks. And it's, I kind of wish we were going right back to each other with what I'm going to talk about next month, but it's the keys are planning, right? So transition is a process, it's not an event, right? So it's I think I'm looking up here. I got you guys up on my screen over here.
We got you,
But again, the transition, it's a process, not an event. So start soon. So we'll talk about some things. We'll give some anecdotal stories about folks that have transitioned. I'll tell a little bit about what I did when I left the Army. I'm working for the Selective Service System now, and had great mentors. I mean, I'm an Italian kid with an Alabama education, so there were a lot of folks that grabbed me by my collar and helped me get along the way. So kind of like what Eric said, being from Penn State, I think that's a more bigger school, right? Um, but I look forward to talking to everybody. And again, roadmap, think about it. It's a process. Get your 5-paragraph op-order out. What do I want to do? And then I'll just leave you this one thing when we talk next time is hey, we're all type A personalities. One of the things when you do when you make that transition is you got to humble down a little bit, right? Put that ego in check a little bit and say, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to do it? Which is more important? And how do I get in the door? Whether it's government service, whether it's